Everyone is broke. You know it. I know it. Your landlord definitely knows it, which is why they just raised your rent again for the third time in 2 years. Eggs cost $8. A starter home costs $500,000. And somehow, avocado toast is still getting blamed for everything wrong with the economy, as if millennials eating breakfast is the reason your paycheck evaporates before the 15th. But here's the thing nobody's talking about. There are places in America, real towns, with real people and questionable WIF where the dollar still has muscle. Where $900 a month isn't a joke. It's a budget, a complete, functioning, I have a roof, food, and maybe even a beer on Friday budget. Not a down payment, not a deposit, a whole month of existence. Welcome to the land that time and inflation forgot. See, while you doom scroll in Zillow in cities where a parking spot costs more than a house and affordable housing means a closet with a hot plate, there's a quiet reality happening in places you've never Googled. Towns where rent is a rounding error. Where diners still charge for $1.99 for a full breakfast with unlimited coffee refills. Where people drive 15-year-old trucks not because they're vintage, but because they work just fine and nobody here cares about your leased BMW. This isn't about grinding yourself into the ground. This is about time travel, economic time travel, back to 2010 pricing, where your paycheck actually meant something and inflation was just a word economists used. But there's a catch, actually, several, because cheap always comes with a receipt. Let's break it down. Number 8, Coffeyville, Kansas. Amazon left, but the cheap houses stayed. Quiet, dusty, and dirt cheap. Coffeyville, Kansas feels like someone hit pause on the economy in 2009 and forgot to press play. You roll into town past fitted storefronts, a water tower that's seen better decades, and pickup trucks so old they've earned the right to rest in peace. The diner on Main Street still has a $5.99 blue plate special and they look at you funny if you ask for oat milk. The gas station sells fountain drinks for 89 cents. And if you squint hard enough, you can almost convince yourself that Obama just got elected. This is what happens when industry leaves and time keeps moving without you. Coffeyville was once a refinery town, an industrial hub with jobs that paid bills and kept families rooted for generations. Then pieces started falling off. Plants downsized. Amazon had a fulfillment center here, past tense, emphasis on the past. Now it's quiet. The kind of quiet that screams opportunity if you rate the type who finds peace in emptiness and terror in Whole Foods prices. Let's do the math because this is where Coffeyville gets interesting. Rent for $100 for $175 a month. I'm not joking. You can find a one-bedroom apartment or even a small house for under $500. Some listings on Zillow look like they were priced in Bitcoin circa 2011. I saw a two-bedroom for $425 with a yard. Utilities $100, $130. Kansas gets hot in summer and cold in winter, but nothing extreme enough to bankrupt you. No California electricity prices here. Food, $180 to $100. Groceries here are cheap. The local stores aren't fancy, but they're functional. Learn to cook, and you'll eat like a king on peasant coins. Skip the meal kits. Embrace the casserole. Fun, $100. There's a bowling alley, a few bars, and enough open land to justify buying a cheap ATV. Entertainment is what you make of it. Total, $880 a month. Welcome to the 2010 pricing model. Here's the thing nobody expects. Coffeyville has a surprisingly beautiful historic downtown. The Dolphin Defenders Museum commemorates the time in 1892 when the town fought off an infamous gang of outlaws in a bloody shootout. It's weird, wonderful, and genuinely interesting in the kind of local history that actually matters. Also, the Coffeyville Community College keeps a little youthful energy around, and the annual Interstate Fair and Rodeo is apparently a big deal if you're into livestock and funnel cakes. Amazon left, the refinery scaled back. The population has been slowly declining for decades like a balloon with a pinhole leak. Young people leave for Wichita or Kansas City and don't come back. What remains is a town trying to reinvent itself, but not quite sure how. The economic engine stalled, and nobody's figured out how to restart it. One commenter put it perfectly. I pay my rent with 3 shifts at the warehouse. The rest of the month, I fish, I grill, I stare at fields. It's boring but honest. Only downside, nearest Target is 45 minutes, and Tinder here is basically a missing persons report. My last 3 matches were the same woman with different haircuts. Let's be honest. The job market is rough unless you're remote or willing to commute to somewhere that actually has jobs. The dating pool is more of a dating puddle and it's evaporating. Entertainment options are limited to whatever you create yourself. You'll learn to love the library and the Dollar General because those are your new social hubs. Infrastructure is aging. Sidewalks crack. Some homes are cheap because the roof might be older than you. And if you're used to diversity in cuisine, culture, or anything, adjust expectations accordingly. The Thai place closed in 2017. Nobody talks about it. Could you trade nightlife for $400 rent and empty highways? Or would the silence break you first? Drop your answer below. And if Coffeyville sounds too dusty, the next town is Italian grandmothers, crumbling steel mills, and homes so cheap they feel illegal. Number 7. Youngstown, Ohio. The Rust Belt comeback kid. Incredible Italian food, virtually free houses, but gritty. Youngstown hits different. This isn't charming small-town America. This is hard knock, blue collar. We used to make steel, and we're not over it, America. The streets are lined with abandoned factories and churches that haven't seen a congregation in years. The pizza is criminally underrated. And yes, you can buy a house for less than the cost of a used Honda Civic. I've seen listings that cost less than a fancy watch. Welcome to the Rust Belt, where the American dream went to get a reality check. Youngstown peaked in the 1950s when steel was king and America was building everything. Then globalization happened. Mills closed. Jobs vanished overnight, literally. In some cases, what's left is a city that refuses to die, slowly transforming itself through sheer stubbornness. Very cheap real estate and some of the best Italian food outside of New York. Rent for $125, $500. Studios and one-bedrooms in safe-ish neighborhoods go for pocket change. Some landlords are just happy someone's paying it all. Vacancy rates mean you have leverage. Utilities $120, $150. Ohio winters are cold, so budget for heat. Summers are mild and merciful. Food $100 to $120. The grocery stores are fine, but the real win is the Italian delis and family bakeries. You'll eat well and cheap if you know where to look. Skip the chains. Find the nana. Fun $100, $130. Bars are cheap, like genuinely cheap. The Youngstown Phantoms hockey games are affordable entertainment, and there's a surprising art scene if you dig for it. Total $895 month. The math works. The vibes are complicated. The food, specifically the Italian food. Youngstown is a deep-rooted Italian-American community, and the bakeries, pizzerias, and delis are legitimately excellent. Briar Hill Pizza, a local style with roasted peppers and Romano cheese, is worth the trip alone. People drive hours for it. Also, Mill Creek Park is 4,400 acres of green space, waterfalls, and trails. It's gorgeous, completely free, and feels like it belongs in a wealthier zip code. Decades of industrial collapse, population loss that gutted entire neighborhoods. High crime in certain areas, and I mean certain areas specifically. This isn't uniform. The city has been trying to reinvent itself through healthcare and education. Youngstown State University. But the scars of economic trauma run deep. Empty lots, boarded up homes. It's not pretty. Everywhere, and pretending otherwise would be lying to you. Saw this one floating around. I bought a house for $22,000. Yes, the roof leaked. Yes, the basement flooded twice. But it's mine. I work remote, eat at the Italian bakery twice a week, and feel richer than I ever did in Columbus, paying $1,600 for a one-bedroom with a parking spot that costs extra. Crime is real. Youngstown's violent crime rate is above the national average, significantly above. You need to choose neighborhoods carefully. Google Street View is your friend before signing anything. The job market outside of healthcare and education is thin. Some blocks look like they've been abandoned since 1985 because they have been. If you're not handy, those $25,000 houses will eat you alive in repairs. Also, the weather is gray. Like, really gray. Cleveland gets mocked, but Youngstown is right there with it. Seasonal depression is a roommate you didn't ask for. Would you trade safety and sunshine for $22,000 homeownership and the best pizza outside New York? Or is the grit too much? Fight it out in the comments. Youngstown's got edge, but if you want heat, humidity, and prices even lower, the next town is practically tropical and practically free. Tropical heat near the border, lowest cost of living in the US, but humid and high poverty. Harlingen doesn't feel like 2010. It feels like 2005 with a permanent sunburn and a ceiling fan that never stops spinning. Located in the Rio Grande Valley, just 30 minutes from the Mexican border. This town runs on a different economic clock entirely. Palm trees line the streets. The air smells like citrus groves and humidity thick enough to chew. This is the deep south of Texas, where the cost of living is so low that national averages don't even apply. But the heat is oppressive, the poverty rate is high, and the economy runs on agriculture, healthcare, and sheer survival instinct. Nobody's here because it's trendy. They're here because it works. Rent for $150, $525. You can find decent apartments, air conditioning required. Non-negotiable for under $550 easily. Some even include utilities, which is unheard of in most of the country. Utilities $130, $160. AC is your lifeline. you will melt without it. Budget accordingly, and don't be a hero. Food, $150, $175. This is where Harlingen shines. Fresh produce is cheap. Tacos are everywhere. Grocery stores are affordable. Tex-Mex is basically a food group, and your grocery bill reflects it. Fun, $75, $100. South Padre Island is 45 minutes away. Local bars and restaurants are cheap. Entertainment is mostly dive beaches, fishing, and trying not to sweat. Total, $860, $900 month. This is the cheapest livable town on this list, statistically speaking. And the tacos justify existence. South Padre Island, it's right there. One of the best beaches in Texas. And you can reach it in under an hour. The birding scene is world-class, seriously. The Rio Grande Valley is a major migration corridor, and birders fly in from around the world. And the Tex-Mex food is authentic, cheap, and everywhere. You will gain weight. You will not regret it. Poverty. Harlingen's poverty rate hovers around 28%, nearly double the national average. The economy depends heavily on agriculture, retail, and healthcare. Wages are low. Opportunities are limited unless you bring your own. The border location brings its own political and social complexities that vary depending on who you ask. It's cheap because many people here are struggling, not because it's an undiscovered paradise waiting for your podcast studio. One local wrote, "I moved here from Austin and cut my expenses in half overnight. The trade-off, I sweat through 3 shirts a day and drive to Mexico for dental work. But my bank account finally has a comma in it, so I'm not complaining. Just sweating. The humidity is brutal, like breathing through a wet towel from May to October. Job options are slim unless you reign in healthcare or willing to work retail for wages that haven't moved since 2008. Infrastructure in some areas is rough. Flooding happens when hurricanes visit, and they visit. And let's be honest, if you're not comfortable with a predominantly Hispanic, Spanish-speaking community, you'll feel like an outsider fast. That's not a con, that's a culture, but that's worth knowing. Before you show up expecting something else, could you handle the heat and the hustle for beachside living on a shoestring budget? Or is Harlingen too raw for your comfort zone? Harlingen is survival mode with palm trees. But if you want something more, aggressively normal, the next town is literally famous for being average. Number 5, Muncie, Indiana. The Garfield town, a college town that's shockingly affordable and aggressively normal. Muncie, Indiana is the most studied small city in America. Sociologists have been poking at it since the 1920s, calling it Middletown, a symbol of average American life. It's also the hometown of Garfield, creator Jim Davis, which is either a fun fact or a cry for help, depending on how you view Mondays and lasagna. The vibe here is aggressive normalcy, chain restaurants, strip malls. Ball State University students walking around in hoodies and questioning their life choices. It's not exciting. It's not depressing. It's just there, existing, functioning, and shockingly cheap for what you get. Rent for $175, $550. Muncie has a surplus of rental housing thanks to Ball State. You can find clean, functional apartments easily. And landlords compete for tenants who aren't undergrads. Utilities, $110, $140. Indiana winters are cold but manageable. Nothing extreme. Food, $180 to $100. Standard Midwest grocery prices. Nothing fancy. Nothing outrageous. You'll live. Fun, $100, $125. Bars, campus events. A decent downtown with coffee shops and breweries that try a little the hard. It's not thrilling, but it's enough. Total, $875, $950 month. Right in the sweet spot. Ball State University keeps things alive. There's a constant flow of young people, cultural events, and cheap entertainment that wouldn't exist otherwise. The Muncie Children's Museum is surprisingly cool, and Minnetrista, a local cultural center with gardens and history exhibits, is legitimately worth visiting on a Sunday afternoon. Also, there's a David Letterman Media building on campus, because of course there is. The man is from here. This is his legacy. Manufacturing left. The automotive industry that once sustained Muncie pulled out decades ago without looking back. What remains is a college town economy service jobs, education, healthcare, and a population that's been slowly shrinking while the university tries to hold everything together. Wages are low. The city has struggled with revitalization despite its Middletown fame. Studies don't pay bills. One person said, "I moved here for grad school and never left." Rent is cheap. People are friendly, and I've developed an unhealthy relationship with the local taco joint. Downside, if you're single, your options are students, professors, or the guy who's been at the same bar stool since 2003. Choose wisely. Boredom is real. Muncie is fine, but it's not exciting. The nightlife is college-centric, which means loud, young, and over by midnight. The job market outside of the university is thin unless you want to commute to Indianapolis, and there is a creeping sense that nothing ever changes here, which is either comforting or maddening, depending on your personality. Also, Ball State students can make certain neighborhoods loud and chaotic during the school year. Pick your location wisely unless you enjoy to AM fire alarms. Is aggressively average a feature or a bug? Would you take boring and cheap over exciting and broke? Muncie wants to know. Muncie is the comfort food of towns. But if you want cheap mansions and the faint smell of soybeans, the next city has both and more character than it knows what to do with. Number 4. Decatur, Illinois. Industrial vibe soybean smell versus beautiful historic parks and cheap mansions. Decatur, Illinois is a city of contradictions. On one hand, it's an industrial town dominated by Archer Daniels Midland, one of the largest food processing companies in the world. The air sometimes smells like soybeans being processed into everything you didn't know contained. Soy factories hum, trains roll through constantly, shaking windows at 3 a.m. On the other hand, Decatur has stunning historic homes, beautiful parks, and a cost of living so low that 6-bedroom mansions go for under $100,000. It's like someone dropped a Victorian neighborhood into an industrial park and called it a city. Welcome to the weirdest housing bargain in the Midwest. Yes, the house is $40,000, but the roof might be older than you. Rent for $125, $500. Decatur's rental market is absurdly cheap. Clean apartments in decent areas go for under $500 easily. You'll think it's a scam. It's not. Utilities $120, $150. Illinois winters are real, so budget for heating. Summers are humid. Food $180 to $100 standard. Midwest prices, plenty of grocery options. Nothing exciting, nothing terrible. Fun $100, $130. Decatur has a downtown with bars, restaurants, and a surprisingly active art scene. Lake Decatur offers outdoor recreation. You'll find things to do if you look. Total $850, $930 month. You'll have money left over. That's not a typo. The historic homes. Decatur's older neighborhoods are filled with gorgeous Victorian and craftsman houses, some with original woodwork, stained glass, and fireplaces selling for under $100,000. Some under $50,000. If you've ever fantasized about owning a cheap mansion, this is your shot. Bring a contractor and a dream. Also, Scoville Zoo and the Decatur Park District are genuinely nice. Lake Decatur is solid for fishing and kayaking. It's not nothing. Industrial decline, crime, and population loss. Decatur lost over 20% of its population since 2000. Crime rates are above average, particularly in certain neighborhoods. The economy is heavily dependent on ADM and Caterpillar if those companies sneeze. Decatur catches pneumonia. Corporate consolidation isn't your friend here. And yes, the smell. When the wind blows a certain direction, the whole city smells like processing soybeans. You get used to it. Allegedly. Eventually. One resident shared, "I bought a 4-bedroom Victorian for $65,000. It needed work. Everything needs work here, but I've got original hardwood floors, a wraparound porch, and a mortgage payment lower than my car insurance. Trade-off. The soybean smell is real. My friends from Chicago think I'm making it up. I'm not. My clothes smell like it." Crime is a genuine concern. Decatur's violent crime rate is well above the national average. Certain neighborhoods are rough. You need to do your homework before buying or renting. This isn't optional research. The job market is limited if you're not in manufacturing, healthcare, or education, and the city has a bit of an identity crisis, industrial past, uncertain future. Mansions nobody can afford to maintain. Also, trains. So many trains. At all hours. Learn to sleep through horns or invest in earplugs. Would you trade fresh air for a mansion and a soybean breeze? Is $65,000 for a Victorian worth the occasional factory smell? Argue below. Decatur is a fixer-upper city with diamond-in-the-rough potential. But if you want mountain views and Appalachian charm, the next town delivers with a catch the size of a coal mine. Number 3. Beckley, West Virginia. Mountain paradise with economic struggles, cheap rent with $1 million view. If you can find a job, Beckley, West Virginia looks like a postcard and lives like a warning. Nestled in the Allegheny Mountains, this town offers jaw-dropping natural beauty, rolling hills, autumn foliage that'll make your Instagram weep, and air so clean it feels suspicious after years of city living. The downtown is a retro charm, diners with $6 breakfasts, and people who wave at strangers like it's 1955. But underneath the scenic surface is economic reality. Coal is dying. Jobs are scarce. Young people leave for cities that offer paychecks instead of promises. What remains is a beautiful place where your dollar stretches far if you can figure out how to make dollars in the first place. Remote workers, this one's calling your name. Rent $450, $525. Apartments and small houses in Beckley are remarkably affordable. Mountain views often included at no extra charge. Utilities $130, $160. West Virginia winters are cold. Budget for heat or become one with flannel. Food $175 to $100. Grocery prices are reasonable. Local diners are cheap and hearty. You'll eat well. Fun $100. Outdoor recreation is free. Hiking, fishing, scenic drives. The New River Gorge is nearby and spectacular. Total $870, $930 month. Doable, especially if you love nature more than nightclubs. The New River Gorge, recently designated a national park. It's one of the most beautiful natural areas. On the East Coast, world-class rock climbing, whitewater rafting, hiking trails that go for miles through and touch forest if you're an outdoor enthusiast. Beckley is a gateway to paradise. Also, the exhibition coal mine lets you tour a real underground mine, weird but fascinating and oddly moving. Coal collapse. Beckley's economy was built on extracting things from the ground, and that industry is in terminal decline. The job market is brutal unless you're in healthcare, which is growing because the population is aging and needs care. Poverty rates are high. Opioid addiction has hit the region hard. This isn't abstract, it's visible. The beauty comes with baggage that nobody warns you about in the tourism brochures. One poster wrote, "I work remote and moved here from DC. My rent dropped by $1,000 to $100 a month. I hike every weekend. I know my neighbors by name. But real talk, if I lost my remote job, I'd have to leave. There's nothing here that pays a living wage. The Wi-Fi is my lifeline. Jobs are the elephant in the room. Unless you work remotely, finding decent paying employment in Beckley is a struggle. Healthcare and education are the main industries. Retail and service jobs pay poorly. The opioid crisis has left scars on many communities that take generations to heal. Infrastructure in some areas is aging, and while the people are friendly, the dating pool is shallow if you're young and single. Bring a partner or embrace solitude. Would you trade career opportunities for $1,000,000 mountain views and for $150 rent? Is the view worth the hustle? Sound off below. Beckley is for dreamers who work laptops and love trails. But if you want cheap rent with a side of military discipline, the next town runs on commo and chaos. Number 2. Lawton, Oklahoma. Military town prices. Dirt cheap rentals, weird mix of soldiers and locals, very affordable. Lawton, Oklahoma exists in a strange economic pocket. Home to Fort Sill, one of the largest military installations in the country, this town runs on Army money, gun ranges, and a constant rotation of personnel who never quite settle. It's not cute, it's not charming, but it is cheap, shockingly cheap and functioning, which is more than most affordable towns can claim. The diner prices haven't moved since Bush was president. Rental signs advertise apartments for numbers that look like typos. And the mix of young soldiers, career military families, and longtime locals creates a vibe that's hard to describe but impossible to fake. This is America's infrastructure running on government paychecks. Rent for $150, $525. Military towns have a constant supply of rental housing. Landlords compete for tenants. Supply and demand works in your favor. You win. Utilities $120, $150. Oklahoma summers are brutal. Budget for AC winters are mild by comparison. Food $175 to $100. Chain restaurants dominate, but prices are low. Groceries are standard. Nothing fancy. Fun $100, $125. Bars near the base are cheap. The Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge is free and beautiful. Entertainment is DIY or cheap. Total $850, $950 month. Easily achievable if you can handle the vibe. The Wichita Mountains, just outside town. This wildlife refuge is genuinely stunning. Ancient granite peaks, free roaming bison, lakes, hiking trails. It looks like it belongs in Colorado, not Oklahoma. It's free to visit and criminally underrated. Also, the military presence means infrastructure is solid. Roads work. Hospitals function. Things actually get done, unlike some towns on this list. Military dependency. Lawton's economy rises and falls with the Army. If Fort Sill ever downsized, the town would collapse overnight. It's also somewhat isolated. The nearest major city is Oklahoma City, an hour and a half away. Jobs outside the military ecosystem are limited, and the constant churn of soldiers means the community can feel transient. Your neighbor might be gone in 6 months. Someone posted, "I moved here for a job on base and was shocked at rent prices. Paid for $175 for a 2-bedroom. The vibe is weird. Half the town is 22-year-old soldiers, half is old-timers who've been here since Vietnam. But my cost of living is a joke. I save more here than I ever could in a real city. Just don't expect culture." The town is not conventionally attractive. strip malls, fast food, pawn shops. It lacks the aesthetic charm of Beckley or the cultural identity of Youngstown. The dating scene is complicated. Half the single people are about to be deployed or just arrived from somewhere else. Summers are brutally hot. Tornadoes are a real thing you'll learn to respect, and the isolation can wear on you if you're used to options. Could you handle the army town energy for military-level affordability? Is cheap worth the commo and chaos? Drop your take below. Lawton is practical, not pretty. But if you want a town with history, tragedy, and the most cinematic cheap housing in America, the final entry is something special. Number 1. Johnstown, Pennsylvania. The ultimate survivor. Floods, decline, but stunning geography, and homes for pennies. The most cinematic cheap town in America. Johnstown, Pennsylvania shouldn't exist. This town has been devastated by catastrophic floods not once, but 3 times, and hammered by steel industry collapse, population loss, and decades of economic struggle that would have killed lesser places. And yet, here it stands, stubborn, scarred. Beautiful in a way that hurts. Nestled in the Allegheny Mountains, Johnstown has dramatic topography, steep hillsides, winding rivers, historic architecture clinging to slopes like something out of a European postcard. The homes here are gorgeous, historic, and priced so low it feels like a glitch in reality. If Beckley is a postcard, Johnstown is a film noir. It's the most visually striking, affordable town in America, and the most haunted by what it used to be. Rent for $100 for $175. Johnstown's rental market is absurdly cheap. You can find apartments and small houses for prices that don't make sense in modern America. Utilities, $130, $160. Pennsylvania winters are cold. Budget accordingly. Space heaters are friends. Food, $175 to $100. Grocery prices are reasonable. Local diners and bakeries are cheap and good. Comfort food country. Fun, $100. The inclined plane, one of the steepest vehicular funiculars in the world, costs a few bucks. Hiking in the surrounding mountains is free. The Flood Museum is fascinating and cheap and will change how you see this place. Total, $825, $900 month. The lowest on this list and possibly the most rewarding for the right person. The inclined plane. This historic funicular railway carries you up the mountainside for sweeping views of the valley. Below. It was built as an escape road after the 1889 flood. It remains one of the coolest pieces of infrastructure in small-town America. Its engineering is survival instinct. Also, the architecture. Johnstown's historic neighborhoods are filled with stunning Victorian, Romanesque, and Gothic revival buildings, many abandoned or selling for almost nothing. If you've ever dreamed of restoring a historic home, this is ground zero. Bring patience and a good contractor. Trauma. Johnstown has never fully recovered from the steel collapse of the 1970s-80s. Population has dropped from over 67,000 to around 18,000. Jobs are scarce. The economy runs on healthcare and whatever tourism the flood history attracts. Young people leave. Those who stay are aging. The town is beautiful but melancholy. And yes, flooding remains a concern. The infrastructure has been rebuilt, but living in a valley that's been devastated 3 times requires a certain kind of trust or denial. One commenter wrote, "I bought a 4-bedroom Victorian for $32,000. It needed work, everything needs work here, but I have a house in a town that looks like a Wes Anderson set. I work remote. I go hiking on weekends. My neighbors are old Italian ladies who bring me pasta. Downside. The town feels like it's waiting for something that might never come. But the rent is free, the view is forever. The job market is grim. If you're not remote or in healthcare, options are limited. The population skews old. The dating pool is shallow. Infrastructure, while improved, still reflects decades of decline. Some neighborhoods feel abandoned because they are. The weather is gray and cold for much of the year. And there's an emotional weight to living somewhere that's been through so much tragedy. Johnstown is beautiful, but it's a haunted kind of beauty. The kind that stays with you. Could you live in a place this beautiful and this broken? Is $32,000 for a Victorian worth the weight of history? Tell me in the comments this one deserves a real answer. So there you have it. 8 towns where $900 a month isn't a fantasy, it's a line item. 8 places where inflation seemingly forgot to show up. 8 opportunities to trade the chaos of modern rent prices for something slower, quieter, and financially survivable. But here's the truth. Cheap comes with a cost. Boredom, isolation, aging infrastructure, limited dating pools. The eternal question of what do I actually do on a Friday night? These towns aren't for everyone. But for some of you, the remote workers, the minimalists, the people tired of grinding just to break even, they might be exactly what you need. A reset, a way out, a 2010 pricing model in a 2024 world. The dollar still has muscle somewhere. You just have to be willing to find it and accept what comes with it. If this video made you think or argue, hit subscribe. Share it with someone drowning in rent who needs to know options exist. And I'll see you in the next one.